Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Lion's Heart. And in this video, we're going to be diving into part 2 of the sexual intelligence model based on spiral dynamics. So part 1 was basically the foundation. If you're into and interested in, human development and sexual development, that's a very fascinating episode. And really, that's going to help you understand and relate to the concepts in this video much better. So if you haven't, I highly recommend checking that out. So basically, as a quick recap, spiral dynamics is a model for human development, evolution, and growth. And basically what they did is they interviewed thousands of people over a very long time period, and they came to the conclusions that humans move through these developmental stages. There's about 8 of them. And we can actually see these stages in history. So we can see them in individual humans, and we can also see them in the collective in certain time periods. So starting off with stage orange. So stage orange began to emerge around 1670. And today it has about 30% of the global population and 50% of the global influence. So what's interesting about spiral dynamics is that actually as you move up these stages, your influence and power actually becomes stronger. So even though stage orange has less people than blue, it's much more influential and powerful today. Actually, today stage orange is at its peak. Like this is when the time we live in now is very orange. That's kind of like the vibe of the world. That's kind of like what the world revolves around. Stage orange, think like New York City, London, LA, these kinds of cities where, it's all about business and profit and, working and, material success and these things. So that kind of leads us into what orange is. So stage orange is basically very focused on the individual. In blue, we saw that the focus was on the group, and orange is kind of a swing back of the pendulum to the individual, because there's kind of like a backlash, because blue is quite oppressive. It doesn't really let you be an individual. It doesn't really allow you to be unique. In stage blue, you have to serve the community. You have to serve the church. You have to serve the tribe. You have to serve the group. And there's a lot of rules and dogma. So what happened in human history was there was this swing away from blue. They saw all the limitations in blue. They saw all the hypocrisy. They saw all the judgments and things like that. And basically what orange is a swinging back to, okay, who am I? What am I as a person? What do I want? What do I like? So we get much more of this kind of like individual mindset. And so that really defines orange. It's all about, who you are as a person. There's a large emphasis on things like success, achievement, value. Value becomes a big thing at orange. Like, what's your value? Are you a high value man? Are you a high value woman? Like these kinds of concepts. And basically orange, it's really focused on achievement, success. There's a big emphasis on optimizing things like health. There's a big emphasis on having like really cool experiences, going to festivals, doing traveling, these kinds of things, like living the good life, really optimizing life. But it's in a very outward way. So orange is a very like, what are the numbers? What does my life look like? Maybe on Instagram, these kinds of things. What's my health stats? Like, it's very measured on outward things. There's not a large emphasis on the inward, right? The inner emotions. It's very much, what can I prove? What can I show? What do I do? What's my job? What's my house look like? These kinds of things. So orange is very much this kind of success-driven mindset and value system that we do see very prominent and very alive today, especially in major cities. Another thing about orange is we get much more of a pullback from religion. So in orange, there's more of a interest in things like science. There's much more of a rational mentality. There's much more of a wanting proof, wanting hypothesis, wanting data. So we get much more of this kind of like open, clear, rational-minded thinking, rather than, whereas blue, it's just, what the Bible says, what the dogmas are. You're either good or you're bad. There's no gray area. Orange, there's much more of a mind opening. We kind of step away from that dogma. We step away from all of that, kind of limiting thinking around that. There's much more freedom to be, who you want to be as an individual. So, how is dating and attraction going to look at stage orange for a stage orange couple? So, basically, what we have to realize is that in stage orange, we're coming into a very, rational and achievement oriented mindset. So, basically, I think I thought about this, and I think the two best words that I could use for like an orange kind of attraction process is, rational and transactional. So, it's going to be very obviously in all of these relationships there's love, there's attraction, there's genuine connection. I feel sometimes this model, it might seem like I'm bashing on people, or but of course in all of these levels there's genuine love and human connection. However, at orange it's going to be very rational, it's going to be very like well thought out. There's not going to be a lot of emotion. It's going to be like, okay, I'm a lawyer, you're a doctor, we both make this much money, you want to live in the city, this is your friend group, this is my friend group. Okay, so that will work. Your family comes from here, mine from here, so they'll get along and we fit together well, so let's do this because it's beneficial for our survival, for our achievement, for our success, these things. It's also a bit transactional in the sense that like this person is bringing this to the table, right? Maybe the woman is bringing her social skills and her friends. She's bringing her, status within the city. She's bringing her, her feminine, qualities. She's bringing her beauty. She's kind of almost even like a symbol. She's almost like like an achievement, right? And the man is bringing, he's bringing his high status. He's bringing his money. He's bringing his achievement. He's bringing his status as a guy who's he's got these degrees and he's worked in this company and he's got these friends and he's charismatic, right? And his Instagram page is fire, right? So this is like very orange. It's very like well thought out, and it's very like transactional. It's like, what are you bringing to the table? Who are you? What's your value? Where are you from? How do you act socially? These kinds of things. So that's kind of how orange is going to look in the the relationship dynamic. So how is the masculine and feminine dynamic in orange? So basically we're still going to have very much a strong polarity between masculine and feminine in orange. The good thing about orange is that it's very equal. Like the playing fields, the levels of power, the levels of autonomy and individuality and uniqueness, because orange is all about individuality and being your own person, comes very strongly in orange. So the dating process is going to be very like very open. It's going to be very free. It's going to be there's going to be a strong resistance to trying to control, trying to change, trying to pin someone down. So in orange we kind of get actually more of like this hookup culture, this kind of like date around, see who's there, like very much of an open thing. This is where like a perfect example of orange is things like Bumble and Tinder and Instagram DMs and hookup culture. Like all these things are very orange. It's very like it's very liberated in that sense, and it really is a backlash against how oppressive and how putting in a box these things were, that blue was, like that religious stage. So yeah, orange is much more of that kind of dynamic. There's much more balance within the relationship. There isn't this kind of like overbearing patriarchal man who's like telling the woman what to do and she has to like kind of be submissive. There's much less of that. It's much more level-headed. It's much more rational. It's much more equal in that sense. So thankfully we have much more of a balance there. Now that said, there still is very much a polarity within orange, and there is still very much a masculine and feminine dynamic. So it's not fully equal. They're still very much playing the roles of the man and the woman. So what's going to be attractive as a man in orange? So an attractive man in orange is going to be he's going to have a lot of status. He's going to be very achievement oriented. He's going to have a lot on paper. He's going to have his degrees, everything like that, and he's basically just going to be very much also still playing that masculine role, provider, protector. He might do Muay Thai. He might go do boxing. He's going to be working out a lot. He's going to be working on his body, his physique, his health. All of this is going to be optimized. He's going to probably join some sports teams, some club teams, things like this. So he's very active. He's very much showing that he's healthy. It's very much a display of health, wealth, vitality, these things. So that's going to be very attractive in orange, and also his status, his place in the community, things like that. So what's going to be attractive as a female in orange? So what's going to be attractive is very much outward appearances. So it's going to be maybe her Instagram page, maybe her level of beauty, because her beauty is like a status symbol, right? So it's like there's like this competition in orange for like the most beautiful people, and basically because what they represent is value and status. So if you're with, a typical example is like the 45-year-old banker who walks into a meeting with the 20-year-old girlfriend as a status symbol, and she's gorgeous. It's kind of like this showing, right? This showcasing of like, oh, look, I've got this high value person because I'm so high value myself. I have all this achievement. So that's going to be one thing for the feminine. It's going to be her education. It's going to be her, her status, her family, what she does, her femininity as well. Obviously, like her levels of, nurturing and love and care, and her ability to support. In orange, it's very important that support, the support system for both parties, the male and the female. So that's kind of how the masculine and feminine look in orange. So how does the seduction and attraction process work in orange? So we have to remember that orange is all about goals, achievement, and status, right? So seduction is going to be very much how do you fit into that person's goals, achievements, and status, right? So the man is going to be providing a image of, okay, well, here's what I can provide. Here's my money. Here's my status. I am very health oriented. I work out every day. These are my muscles. A big one now is like your Instagram page. Like your Instagram page is like your display of who you are. That's very orange. So it's very much a display. It's going to be very much about confidence. The orange man is going to be almost looking at this as a game. It's almost going to be like, can he get his achievement here as well, right? Can he get the hottest girl in the room? So he's going to be looking into things like pickup. He's going to be researching, how to be attractive, how to, make my hair look the best way possible, how to change my voice levels so that she's attracted. It's going to be very much a game. It's very much a game in orange. It's very much play. There's very much an emphasis on like dating around, sleeping around, and then eventually like the goal in orange seduction and attraction is to find like a partner and typically become monogamous and get married and have kids, because that's also kind of this goal oriented thing that orange is so deeply in. And for the feminine, how does the seduction and mating process in orange look like? So again, it's going to be very achievement oriented. It's going to be very outward focused. So she's going to emphasize things like her beauty because that's a status symbol. She's going to wear maybe a Rolex. She might have like a really nice dress on and be dressed to the nines. So it's going to be very much about like her beauty, her status, who are her friends, these kinds of things. In orange, we also have to remember that the feminine becomes much more independent. So there's much less of a dependency on men in the traditional sense of like, a religious household or like a tribal setting. Women begin to have their own careers. They begin to have their own, independence. They're making their own money. So there's kind of like this empowerment for the feminine. And what they really want is to, display that and ensure that they're with a guy who respects that and isn't going to kind of compromise or try to control her in any way, because we have to remember that women have been through 3 levels of development where they're basically being, controlled and told what to do and having to fit a certain mold. So in Orange, we really get this like backlash from the feminine. There's really like this independence, and so she's going to be showing that as well. She's going to be showing that she's independent. She can do her own thing. She doesn't need a guy. Also in Orange, the seduction is very much based on the goals. So it's like what is she what is she bringing to the guy? Is she gonna help him work out better? Is she gonna help him with his business? Is she gonna help him be like that power couple? Like they might become attracted to each other when they see like this kind of power couple dynamic. Like we work out together, like workout couple, yoga couple, like these kinds of couples where it's like they're together and then they empower each other. So they become like a power couple. And this feeds and serves their, success, their achievements, their financial goals. That's very attractive in Orange, is this kind of like partner that's going to emphasize and increase your success, status, and achievements as well. So how does the actual sex look in Orange? So finally, we this is where we start coming into good sex. The last few stages were, I mean, maybe purple was pretty good. The tribal stage, I'm sure that was good sex. Red definitely was not, and blue was very vanilla and boring, as you guys might remember. So Orange, we finally break the barrier into good sex. And because Orange is free from these dogmas, they're kind of free from these roles, masculine, feminine, there definitely is a backlash against guilt and shame around sex. Orange tries to remove that as much as possible. They don't want any guilt. They don't want any shame. They're very pragmatic and rational about sex. It's like, oh, it's just two humans. They almost kind of a little bit take the sacredness out of sexuality. It just becomes kind of like sex, like, Sex in the City. Kind of like, there's kind of like that attitude towards it. But anyway, Orange, because they're achievement oriented, because they're goal oriented, they want the best sex possible. So they're going to be very focused, and they're very outward oriented as well. So they're going to be very focused on like hot sex, like looking good, hot positions. They're going to want to try sex toys. This is where sex toys comes into reality, is in Stage Orange. These are like where we're going to try, using sex toys and dildos and things like this to really emphasize the pleasure, right? So in Stage Orange sexuality, it's like, how can you get like the most pleasure, like the peak pleasure? It's all about, orgasming, and it's all about making sure everybody gets off, right? In Orange, it's almost like a crime to not get off. Like if he doesn't make her come, or if he doesn't come, it's like, that's like the end of the world. That's like the worst thing that can happen in sex in Orange, is people not getting off. So yeah, it's very balanced as well. It's going to be very much like he's doing this, and again, transactional. So like he's going to go down on her so that she goes down on him. It's kind of like this transaction. It's like there's like an agreement there. It's almost like two friends having sex, right? It's like, let's just do this for each other, and then let's like optimize the pleasure and like make it look as hot as possible. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty great about Orange. One thing that might be more of a con in Orange sexuality is that there is very, again, this rational mindset, right? It's very rational. It's all about keeping your cool. There's not a lot of vulnerability. There's not a lot of emotion. So the sex can kind of stay at this shallow physical level, whereas they're not really dropping into the heart. They're not really dropping into, these deeper aspects of connection and love. There's not a lot of vulnerable conversations happening around, their deeper emotional aspects. There's very much kind of like still kind of putting on this wall, this show, this mask in that context. And it can be very scary to, be vulnerable and open up, because Orange does not want to get rejected. Orange does not like to be given signs that they're not who they think they are. They're not as valuable or status. And so there is still this kind of holding back of emotion, which obviously pours into the sexual relating as well. But, overall, Orange sex is great. It's very hot. It's very steamy. And lastly, some examples of Orange would be, there's a lot of modern examples. This could be Carrie Bradshaw and Big from Sex and the City, Jordan and Naomi Belford from Wolf of Wall Street, Frank and Claire Underwood from House of Cards, and we have real life examples like Jay-Z and Beyonce, maybe in their earlier years when it was just that famous status like power duo kind of couple. We could also look at Donald and Melania Trump. It's a pretty good example. There's like very much that transactional status kind of achievement oriented relationship. So yeah, there's countless examples in Orange. Most couples that you probably see today are at Stage Orange. It's a beautiful stage. There's a lot of great things in Orange. In Orange we see rational conversations. There's going to be much less of a power dynamic. It's going to be much more equal and much more respect on each person's individuality and autonomy. In Orange, we see a lot more like working together on things. There's a lot more assistance in achieving goals. There's more open-mindedness. There's a lot more excitement and passion. Orange knows how to have fun. Orange likes to go travel. Orange is not going to be overbearing if their partner needs to, be gone for a week to go for a work trip. Orange is going to understand that. Orange is overall is a very big step up from Blue. There's a lot more, freedom and enjoyment of life and enjoyment of pleasure. So, props to Orange. All right, guys, and that does it for Stage Orange. In the next videos, we're going to be diving into stages green, yellow, and turquoise, which will be going into more of a kind of spiritual, emotional, much more of like an unconditional kind of love in terms of relationships and development as well. So those are going to be really cool episodes. I think a lot of you guys will resonate with those episodes much more. And speak then. I hope you guys got a lot out of this, and have a great week ahead. Cheers.